Okay, I'm going to start with how we define our roles, define our goals. What is the aim when we set out to write a review?
To start some kind of dialogue, ideally, to put forth a perspective on the film which has some sort of informed backdrop, and then to hopefully engage the reader in a conversation, in that sense.
But is it also, I mean, is there also a sense of wanting to inform the public opinion or feeling that we need to inform public opinion in a certain way? Is that something that is there in our conscious or subconscious? I mean, of course, the answers will be very individual.
You know, Anthony Lane had said that the function of a critic is to sort of bring his response or her response to a movie to the audience.
Yeah.
Not necessarily to say, go watch it or don't watch it, but just say, this was my experience. And really, I think that's perhaps what it is. I mean, we get to see movies before everybody. And I don't even know if I call myself a film critic. I don't know if I'm learned enough for that. I'm a reviewer. And I'm really sort of almost a consumer guide. You know, I'm going out and testing the waters before you. And this is what my experience of the film was. And you know, and there's going to be so many different experiences. So this is mine, and you know, you take from it what you want.
I also think that is what one does on a weekly basis. But I think that the role, as it should be, is also it's also our job in a sense to navigate an audience towards interesting films, not necessarily films that are releasing on a weekly basis, but it's also a critic's role to, I think, to introduce you to cinema that you had the privilege or the opportunity to watch before them, or had the access to watch, which you're making familiar, or just pointing them towards the direction of material that is good and that is out there, sometimes inaccessible.
Yeah, but playing the devil's advocate here, if the role is more than just to say I liked it or I didn't like it, if it's anything, then we are assuming that we are higher viewers of cinema in some way. You know, there is a...
Why?
Because, I mean, in a sense, we are people who are telling you, I mean, that's the role thrust upon us. This may not be what we think of ourselves, but by dint of what our role is, how do we feel we're qualified or justified to occupy that pedestal? There is a little bit of a, I mean, it's such a...
Here's the thing, right? I mean, that's a question that's often asked of film reviewers or film critics, like, who are you and why should I listen to you? I think I can speak for the three people here on this table. Anupama's written this book on Sholay, for instance, which when I read it I thought was the finest book on Indian cinema that I'd read. When I read, and not just me, but a huge, and we were discussing this right before, when we read Rajiv's column in Open, for instance, we're all like, rolling, laughter, or we're trying to understand what he's trying to say in terms of who he's referring to and stuff like that. The first time I met Raja was because of an interview we did with Kamal Haasan. I was like completely floored by how wonderful the interview was. So fundamentally, they're all very good writers. And
so
what they're using
it's a peer thing, like that it's a peer
no,
recognition thing?
No, it's not a peer recognition thing at all. They're fundamentally very good writers. And what they're using those skills for is their love for cinema. So they're bringing in all those skills into writing about films. That just makes him or her or him different from everyone else who loves movies equally. So what you've seen a film, and you may want to discuss it with somebody who's written really well about it. Whether in a negative way or in a positive way, that's not even the point. It's a conversation that you want to make with someone who writes really well. And I think somewhere, everyone's coming from there.
But I mean, I think that's a good point to start with, that they should be good writers in whatever genre, however they write, whatever the writing style might be. But is there sort of a higher, like there's this Guardian article that I was actually talking to her about earlier, which I found very amusing, to say the least. It's by Ronald Bergen, where he says, basically writes about how a friend of his was not given the post of a film critic in a leading daily in the UK because they said that he knows too much about cinema. And he said this is preposterous because this would never happen for a book critic or an art critic. So he's writing about that. Of course, he goes on to say some ridiculous things, or maybe not ridiculous things. He says every film critic should know, say, the difference between a pan and dolly shot, a fill and key light, direct and reflected sound, a signified and the signifier, diegetic, a lot of these things I can't pronounce, so diegetic and non-diegetic music, I don't know what that is, and how both the tracking shot and depth of field can be ideological. Okay, fair enough. They should know their Jedi Jackie from Gendai Jackie. Be familiar with the Kuleshov effect.
That sounds like a doctor to me, by the way.
See, I had copies of this for all of you guys because I was like, 180-degree rule is the meaning of, and the meaning of suture. And then he has this whole list set out that he should have read Eisenstein's Film Sense and Film Form and the writings of Ballas, André Bazin, Crossier, Roland Barthes, which is the only one I've read, Christian Metz, Sherd Daney. They should have seen...
It's basically a manifesto.
Yeah, it is an entire manifesto. It's a one-page article, but there's a full manifesto. They should be well-versed in Russian constructivism, German expressionism, Italian neorealism, Cinema Novo, Nouvelle Vague, and Ziga Vertov group.
But where's Bollywood?
No, because that's what I'm saying. Of course, if we knew
We need
all
Hindi cinema, yeah.
apply to Rowdy Rathod is a completely different. I mean, maybe we could actually write a, you know, if we saw it through the prism of German expressionism. But I'm saying, can there be a manifesto like this? Can there be a basic minimum knowledge of film that we're all supposed to have?
I think
or
you need to just love. You just need to love all film. You need to be open. I mean, I don't think you can be a film reviewer, a film critic in India if you say I don't like action movies or I don't like you know, art house and therefore I won't watch them or therefore I end up reviewing them in the manner that I do. I think you have to love all kinds of film and you have to be articulate.
You have to be articulate. But what
I
about
kind of agree
knowing...
though with your piece. I'll tell you why. Because it's not written for film reviewers. I mean, there is such a thing as film criticism, which is a different art form altogether, which is a completely academic exercise where you have an auteurist approach, you have a technical approach, you have a humanist approach.
But he's
this
writing
is a journalistic
about it
approach.
for how
For a
this
paper,
is, he's
for a
talking
newspaper.
about a newspaper.
Oh, is he talking about a newspaper?
He's talking about a film critic.
He's
He's
talking-
saying that
okay.
how lit critics are, no matter how one reviews books, you're
Yeah.
expected to know a certain bit about literature. I think that's what he's saying. But should we have a basic minimum thing of we should have at least seen all our old, I mean, I'm not saying this, but even when it comes to Bollywood, that you should know a certain, you should have seen all
You should
Bimal
know
Roy
your films,
movies, or you
yes.
should have, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a basic thing,
There
but I
is a
don't know if
basic.
you can outline it and say you should have seen every Ray film or
Yeah,
every
yeah.
Kanak
Correct,
film or whatever.
correct,
Because, you know, I mean, what have the directors done? Really,
Yeah.
are they qualified to make the films?
Yeah,
I mean, you know,
yeah.
it's the point of if we aren't good enough, then we'll be found out within 5 reviews,
Right.
and then we'll not get to do what we do.
Right,
So since we
right.
are doing what we do, I think that legitimizes. It's like Tarantino said, I didn't go to film school, I went to films, and that's what we do. We
Yeah,
watch
but
films and we
films is fine,
go
but
with
I mean,
it.
he's
It's
also
not like
not
no, but
saying-
it doesn't have to be a prescribed syllabus for us, right? We
Yeah.
don't need to know every. I mean, to be able to deconstruct a Shanghai, I don't need to know, you know, all about Abrar Alvi. I mean,
But, okay, for example, would you say that you would think that you should watch at least all of the Bakar's films before you see Shankar? I mean, is there a basic minimum that you would think you should do?
Yeah.
Or
I try to. I think, yeah. I mean,
I know you do
you want
too.
an informed opinion, right? That's
Yeah,
what you want to
absolutely.
present, an informed opinion. Because finally, it's an opinion like anybody else's. So what makes it more weighty, valid? Though I don't think the pedestal really exists anymore. You know?
I think it's to create a context for whatever
It's-
you're
yeah,
saying.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I think, and we all keep up with film. I mean, the reason we do what we do, and which involves watching a lot of bad movies very regularly,
it does.
is because we love movies. So we end up, like he said, so we end up watching a lot of movies anyway in our own
Yeah.
time, and we want to
Yeah.
keep up with it. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
it's like, you know, medical journals or something. We
Correct.
keep watching our movie. We
Right.
want to know what Sanjay Gupta has done before this. You know, so yeah, we watch it all.